Okay. There's one person here, so I'm going to start. Will it be recorded? Yeah, I'm going to record it. Yes, recorded. For the history and making of the app, I'm going to start recording it now here on my screen. And we are now recording. This is not going to be as exciting as some of my other videos. You're going to hear me yelling at myself, things like that, but it's all good. So what we're going to do is work on the app. I've been so busy this week, I haven't had a chance to do that. And so let's go ahead and do that. In fact, anyone who's watching, if you go to the Devslopes app channel, if you want to chat there, you can. That way it's more real time than Google Hangouts by a few seconds maybe. But basically, I want to start working on the main screen with the mountains and stuff. I need to find the screen of how it's actually going to look, the slope screen. In fact, I think we need to manage this a little bit better. It's hard to find things here in Trello. Okay, so this is the slope screen. Okay, I don't think Trello is the place I want to look. I want to go straight to Dropbox. I've got a Dropbox folder. I'm going to find the images there, and that's what we're going to do. Devslopes app, current designs. You guys don't have access to this. These are the actual graphics, so that's what you're seeing here. And we're doing the slope select. No, we're doing the home screen. Home screen, there we go. Let me make this bigger. And if you hear noise in the background, it's just crazy busy house, lots of people here. And I actually have Pearson in the background working here as well. So I can't guarantee it's going to be quiet. So make this even, well, this is good here. I'll make it bigger so I can really look at it. They used to, on Mac before, I think it was before Maverick, whatever it's called, you used to be able to just, there used to be a little icon down here where you could make your icons bigger and drag them, but they removed that feature, which was dumb. But so I want to create this screen here for iPhone and for the iPad. And basically, and I'm talking aloud here to everyone who's listening, talking to myself mostly. So basically the screen is going to be where the main categories are. So we're going to have a Swift, so like an iOS slope, an Android slope, a web development slope. These are like tracks, you know, like the learning track you want to go on. And so let's talk about features here. So each of these has a title, an icon, some text. I really feel like these should also have a video player on here as well too. The intro. I want to talk to Evan about that. I think we should be able to play a video about what the slope's about right from here. Give people as much information as possible. How many students have enrolled in this course? Okay, that makes sense. And it's going to have a little bit of shadow behind the card here. So we're going to need to do both UI work and Firebase work. And so let's go ahead and see what we've done so far. So I'm going to find my project here. New tab, there we go. Command T. I'm going to go to where my project is saved, which is on my nasty desktop here. I need to move this. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a folder in here somewhere that has the layout of the, oh goodness, where is it? Let me see what branch we're on here. I have a file that has the JSON that makes up our Firebase structure, but I'm not seeing it here. And then maybe it's because I put it in a different branch. So let's take a look. Open up our terminal. And we're going to the desktop. Devslopes app. All right, and get branch. That took a while. So I'm on the develop and screen slopes. Maybe that's the one I was working on. Let's check it out. Literally. Check out, get checkout screen slopes. Oh, come on. Git stash. I don't care about anything I've done in here. Yeah, I don't care. Let's try that again. Git checkout screen slopes. All right. Is this the one that I did it in? DA slope selection screen. You know, I think I did it from my laptop. I think that's the problem. That's okay, though. I should have saved it and pushed it up. This is GitHub or Git version control 101. I didn't do and follow my own advice, so I have to do it again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that's good for you guys. You can actually see how I'm going to structure Firebase for the entire app because I'm going to do it again. So yay. Okay. That's right. We will be doing 3x, I promise, Russ. Absolutely. This app is going to be perfect in every form and manner. In fact, you guys are going to beta test it to make sure it is. So I'm going to go ahead and create a JSON file here. And let's do that here in the terminal. Actually, let's set things right here. So git branch. I'll get rid of some of these old ones later on. So I'm going to git checkout develop. And of course, before you ever check out a new branch, you should pull down latest. So git pull origin develop. We're working off the develop branch. And there definitely are changes, so that's good to know. And of course, you want to do pod install anytime you check out from your repo. CocoaPods used to be so fast, and now it's so slow. Yep. A Udemy course on how to pimp your terminal. You know what's funny is this terminal here is this is just one of the default themes. In fact, this is just plain bash, like the plain bash terminal. Before, in some of my iOS videos, you probably noticed I'm using ZSH, and I had it all customized. I spent lots of time. I actually handpicked the colors and stuff because I was so annoyed with the different themes that were out there. I didn't like any of them. And then I reformatted my MacBook because it was just going so slow. And I lost it all. I didn't think of backing it up. So now I'm just using base terminal. There we go. 5 dependencies, good to go. And what I like to do before I actually mess around with things and code, I just want to make sure it's up and running because you never know. Some dummy on the team could have like put up bad code when they shouldn't have, and then my app's broken and I got to go yell at them. My Pearson looked over when I said that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So I'm just going to run this. I hate how it always defaults to the 6+. The 6+ is slow and takes up the whole screen. All right, so we're going to run this and just make sure it works. By the way, if you guys think this is taking a long time to load, I have the most powerful iMac you can purchase, customized to the highest thing possible, and it still runs kind of slow. Hey, Russ, you can send me your theme if you want. I've been meaning to set up ZSH again. I just haven't got around to it. Also, whenever I do that, then it's like the students all want to ask me. They're like, oh, how do you do that? And then I got to have a tutorial on how to do it. And so sometimes it's nice just to leave things as they are. Come on, you can do it. Wow. Wow. 5K iMac. Woo. Okay. Yeah, we need to fix that flag. It's on speed still. All right, so click that. Man, I lost my animation. It used to come down from the top. I need to fix that and then come into here. So we're definitely good to go. Pearson didn't destroy any of my code, so we're good. So I'm going to stop this here. And what we're going to do is create a JSON file and So we're here in the main directory, which is fine. And I'm going to make a new directory inside my repo here. I'm just going to call this web. Web data Firebase web. I'm going to call this. I'm just going to call this web. I don't care. We'll figure it out later. Go into that folder, and I'm going to make a JSON file. We're going to call this static data. So this is my. So for those of you who are listening, I'm going to do something that is not typically common, but I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to put all of my static data into actual Firebase. So whereas Firebase is used mostly for user data, publishing things, I'm going to actually use Firebase for static data that will deliver down to the app. So the Firebase data is going to have all the videos and all these different things that we're doing, and it's all going to be in a JSON file. All of it in a JSON file as far as the structure goes, and videos and things like that. And I'm still working on how this is all going to work out, because with the click of a button, you could accidentally delete all of your data in Firebase and it's gone. So I'm trying to figure out backups and things like that. But for now, it's going to work. And static data.json. I'm going to call this FB static data for Firebase, not for Facebook, but I don't know the difference. Okay, so let's create that JSON file. And then what I'm going to do is just open that up in Atom, that web IDE that I use. I'll load up here. Perfect. Save it. Let's make it big. Okay. Yeah, you can upload here in the room, Russ. You can do all kinds of good things in Discord. Okay, so let's talk about Firebase. So here's our app, and we've got an app that's going to have user data, and we've got an app that's going to have Firebase data. And on the back end here, this is mostly to remind myself. On the back end, let me make sure I'm not sharing any passwords or anything. Okay. Okay, so this is what I've done. On the back end, I've created a Devslopes static live. So this would be our live server. And then I've got a develop server. So basically, whenever we change data, or like I add a new video or something, I don't want to do it directly on the live. We want to put it on the develop so we can test it out thoroughly. Again, normally you might have your own web server or backend where you have all this set up, but we're doing it all through Firebase. And I'm going to try really hard to keep it in Firebase because I don't want to have to go build a whole backend solution. It'll take up time. And I think we can do it. And if we get 1 million users, Google will probably be calling me being like, hey, we want to showcase your app. So, okay, Devslopes static data. Perfect. And so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it's going to have its own URL. It's going to be a completely different app from the actual user data. So I'm not even going to mix those together. 2 different URLs for Firebase, and I think that's how we're going to do it. So let's take a look here. So Firebase static data. So basically, let's think about this aloud here. So on Firebase, on the topmost level for static data, we are going to have courses or slopes. So yeah, so that makes sense. So our object, and these are going to be slopes, and each slope is going to have a unique ID. So this could be iOS. We can call this, oops, all in quotes here. There we go. Slope iOS. Yeah, slope iOS for now. It could be unique later on, something like that, but we're just going to consider this unique. So we've got an iOS slope, and we would have a Android slope, right? So slope Android. And by the way, I'm just using this for sample data. I don't know if this is the file I actually used to import to Firebase. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. So let me look over here, make sure I'm not missing any messages. Yeah, and everyone who's watching, if you could go into the Devslopes app channel, that's the best place for me to respond, so I don't have to keep switching back and forth and waste time here. Slope Android and slope web. Maybe one day it'll be like back-end web, front-end web. I'm not sure just yet. Web, we'll see. That's good enough for now. So these are our Firebase objects. These are unique IDs. Just assume that they're unique, okay? And so every slope has data, right? Every slope has data. And that data is in that screenshot that we were looking at, right? That we saw somewhere. Yeah, these screenshots right here. So let's see if we can work with these side by side. And by the way, this is how I actually work. I actually work very visually. And so I'll look at the screenshot and it helps me understand what kind of data we're going to need and things like that. Just the way I do things helps me out. So, okay, so on our slopes, we've got the title, right? So this is the slope name. So we're going to call this slope name. Actually, we're not going to use dashes. We're going to use all camel casing. So slope name. And, you know, in this case, it's going to be Swift slope. All right, so slope name is going to be Swift slope. Yep. And so we have an icon there. The question is, do we want to download icons from the internet? The answer is probably yes. I think I want everything just to come from the web. And I think Firebase has a good offline solution. So we'll look into doing that as well too. So I'm going to call this slope icon for now. Slope icon URL. That makes more sense. And that's going to be whatever it is, HTTP. We'll have to fill that in later. Okay, so every one of these slopes has an icon as well too. And what else? Are you guys even listening? Am I talking to myself? Somebody say something so I know I'm not a loner loser here. We've got 15 viewers, so someone's around and awake. Okay, so slope icon URL. Okay, he's been working on this theme for years. That's quite intense. All right, Common's listening. Common, that sounds like that's like a rapper name, like Pitbull or something. All right, slope icon URL. And what else we have? We've got a slope description. So I'm gonna call this slope description. And what is this? Let's see. Yeah, this is going to be, you know, so we take you from not knowing any code to building your, let's soft wrap this here. View, toggle soft wrap. There we go. We'll dot this for now, since this is just test data. And we know what it means. So slope description. Okay. And what do we got? Students. So, you know, that icon there with the little students icon, I don't imagine that would change. So I'm going to leave that as a static item. We're not going to include that there, but we will get the total students or students enrolled. So we're going to call this students enrolled. And I'm thinking that anytime, this is just thinking ahead, but even though we have different courses within a slope, I'm just going to say anytime any student enrolls in any course under this slope, we'll count them as a student enrolled. So students enrolled, and you know, 625. This is an integer. Okay. Let's see what else here. What else we got going on? This looks good here. Okay, so students enrolled on this slope. That's fine. What else? What else would be unique on the screen that would be static data? And that's the description. Oh, I do. Again, I'm gonna talk to Evan here. Are you guys saying if it's popular? Are you guys saying you're a little bit lost with Firebase and what's going on? So if that's what you're talking about, Firebase. I'll dive in here since everyone's listening. Firebase is has a unique model for storing data. And here's what I'm going to show you. So we've got our Devslopes static data develop. Okay, so here is our actual Firebase, right? And so all I'm doing right here is I'm trying to map it out. So I don't want to map it out in Firebase because I could lose it. I'm just going to map it out in an actual JSON file that's stored in our version control. And so let's take a look at this. So right here, this is our base URL. Everything in Firebase is a URL. So it's my Firebase URL / devslope static dev. That's what I'd actually put in my code to access this URL. And so what I'm going to do is just what I've done over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to just do the exact same thing. So we're going to have an array called, and I should have put this in here and I didn't. This one's going to be called slopes, okay? So we're going to have an array called slopes. And in Firebase, they're not arrays. In Firebase, think of everything as a JavaScript object, okay, with keys and values. That's how it works in Firebase. There's no notion of an array. And so we've got slopes. That's the slope key. It's like a JavaScript object. And so this is where the unique keys and things are going to go in. So this one's going to be slope iOS. That's our unique key here. And the value for this is going to be nothing because it's another object. And so the name, so the name is the name of the key. And so this one's called slope name. And in this case, the value is going to be Swift. I don't even need to put quotes here. It's smart. So Swift slope. Okay. And if I just press enter now on all these, it has now created this data, which, by the way, this would be instantly accessible in Firebase. So we got a slope name. What else did I have on here though? So slope icon URL and the value, you know, HTTP www. For now, just devslopes.com. Okay. So that's the slope icon URL, and we've got the slope description. And, you know, we take you from knowing nothing to knowing more than nothing, okay? And so we're actually building data here. And by the way, this stuff right here, when you're working with user data, you don't typically do this yourself. Like how we're creating data here, this is really for testing purposes, but it shows up instantly in Firebase. However, in our app, I'm going to do the complete opposite. I'm going to build all of our static data into here. And there is an import function right here. And I don't know how it works exactly yet, but I know I can build out my data in a JSON file and I can actually import it here. So what I'm thinking we're going to do is whenever we're testing new features and new videos and things like that, I'm going to put it all here in the static JSON file, validate it, make sure it's all working, and then import it over into our develop branch here in Firebase and then test it. And then if it looks good, we'll eventually move it over to the live version. So that's how I think I'm going to do it here. We'll see how it goes. Firebase is still fairly new, and exploring this type of model is, you know, you would typically have like a Node API or Ruby API, which just delivers the static data, which if I can't get this to work the way I want to, I will be building my own Node server that delivers this static data, but we'll see. So slope name, slope description, icon URL, students enrolled, okay? And this value right now is 625. Okay, and by the way, this is how data is actually stored in Firebase. So like this is, as your app saves to Firebase, it will appear here and pop up. Look, just however you've designed it. A promo video for every slope. Yes, we will. I was just talking about that. I need to talk to Evan about that. I want to show it there in those slopes because I think it's going to generate more sales. So the other one I was going to do, actually, that's the next one I was doing before someone said they were confused and I was explaining here. So let's do that now. So this one's going to be promo video URL. And this will be HTTP. For now, we'll just say devslopes.com. All right. So yeah, Josh, you should check it out. It's this is good stuff. In fact, you're seeing the actual creation of the Firebase data model real time here. So Pearson already did authentication, so that's already done, and you didn't get to see that, but this is our static data I'm designing here. So promo video URL, and right now we'll just put fake data in here, HTTP devslopes.com. In fact, again, I don't need the quotes in there. I could have left them. It's smart. Okay, so there's our iOS slope. That's looking great. Okay, and for sake of test data, I'm just going to create one more slope here. So I'm going to click this plus sign, and we're going to call this slope Android, which, by the way, my Android course will be out April 30th, and it'll also be included on launch with this course. So that's really cool. Slope Android. I've been having a lot of fun building it, actually. And I just got a new Windows Surface book. So for those of you who are Windows users, which is probably none of you, I will be doing videos on like how to install Android and work on Windows as well as other various caveats that are important to know.
And how to get your Windows computer running.
Yeah, and how to turn on your Windows computer. I just bought it, and in less than 24 hours, the moment I took that Surface Book home, that $1,500 computer, okay, the battery was dead. So thank you for creating a great experience for me, Windows. Battery's dead right out of the box. Then I go through the Windows setup process, and my screen goes so dim you can barely see it. You can't change it. You can't do anything, right? And then when it finally stops doing that, I get this loading spinner that never goes away, and Windows has basically crashed at this point. And I haven't even started it, been able to use it yet. So at that point, I do like a factory reset, and then Windows finally proceeds to go through the installation process. Okay, and then I'm trying to do a Microsoft video with Visual Studio, and I open Visual Studio for the first time, and I get the blue screen of death with an unhappy smiley face saying something fatally error went wrong. You can see it on my Instagram. And that was my Windows Surface Book experience in less than 24 hours from owning it. Anyway, a little off topic here, but so Slope Android, we're gonna have the same data here, right? So this was gonna be promo video URL, HTTP, we're gonna say donkeyKong.com, just because we can. And let's go ahead and create the others here. Slope description, all your Android belong to us. And let's, by the way, if you guys think I'm being like funny or obnoxious just for you, this is what I actually do. Like, I try to entertain myself while I'm coding. You know, some people just put like boring data and things in there. I have, you know, try to make coding interesting. You know, slope icon URL. This is, you know, my icon.com. And then we've got slope name, of course. And this is going to be, what is this going to be? This is, for now, Android slope. That's creative. And lastly, students enrolled. Let's say 400 because it's not as popular as iPhone development. Okay. So, and by the way, what's really interesting for those of you who are listening is you actually save your data from your client. So from the web browser or from the iPhone app or Android app, and the URLs you define there are actually on the client side. So however you have your data structured on the client side, that's what you have to validate. So what's interesting is, you know, if you've done web development before in the past, you know, you have all your unit tests on your backend server with your data, making sure everything's coming in to the database just right. But in this case, Firebase is all completely managed on the client. So there is a little bit of extra work you have to do. You have to make sure you have valid unit tests in your front end JavaScript or your iPhone app or your Android app, and that they're all saving the same data, because one developer who makes one mistake on one client could alter how the data is saved on the back end. So very curious and different way of doing things. But anyway, it is what it is. So there's our slopes, slope Android, slope iOS, and what else? So by the way, Russ, you mentioned the MacBook. For the Kickstarter that we're doing for our app here, we're actually going to have a huge contest and give away probably a MacBook Air for whoever. There's this cool online tool for whoever shares the Kickstarter the most. They get all these entries in an actual real contest, and then we do a random drawing, and you get a chance to win a MacBook. Those details will come. But anyway, so I will be buying another MacBook here soon. I think I've owned every Apple product that exists except for a Mac Pro. I have not bought that tower yet. It's very expensive. Okay, this looks good to me, guys and gals and people who's listening. So, okay, let's see. So I've got the slope Android, slope iOS. So the next thing we can do is actually test that this is working in our iOS app. It was literally that simple. Literally that simple. Yeah, Jay. Whoever shares the most, whoever's our biggest advocate, is going to get the most entries. So it's going to be really interesting and fun. I'm hoping to raise a couple $100,000 from this Kickstarter so we can bring on more developers and make this a huge deal. And all of our community members and people who've been here since the beginning and new people now, they're going to get all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to be the coolest freaking coding company in the world. Okay, so this looks good enough talking. I'm distracting myself with visions and cool things. So this looks good. So I'm going to go back now to my dashboard here, and I'm going to be cutting this out of the recording. So guys, just please don't copy down URLs and things like that, because then if you do and you're hacking in, we got to go change them all, and it's going to be a pain. So anyway, just observe. So here's our Devslopes static dev, and here's the URL. This is the base URL. So I'm going to copy the link address, and I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to work some iOS magic. So let's go to our terminal, make sure we're in the right branch. which were not. I did what I did what I told you guys you shouldn't do. I added stuff without changing the branch. So hold on, let's get status. All right, we got lots of junk I changed. We are currently keeping all the pod files in our project. We're not actually excluding them per choice, just so you know. It's not by mistake. Git commit -m added static data JSON. And now I'm going to check out a new branch. Git checkout -b. And let's call this, what screen is this? This is the slopes screen. So I already have that though. Let's call this Firebase slopes screen. Okay. Excuse me. And you guys get to see me sneeze on camera. Okay, so git branch. Let's make sure we're on the right branch here. And we are. So we are good to go. Okay, so connection dropped out. MacBook Pros next Monday in the keynote. Yeah, Udemy actually asked me to, if Apple comes out with any new tech, they want me to make videos on it like right away and update my course. So you may be seeing that if they come up with anything cool, new hot stuff in the course. All right, so we got some good services and things here. DA data service. Oh, come on, really? Really? Don't be like this. LAX code. It's black and white. This is what coding was like in the 50s, all black and white. Okay. What is, there we go. Okay, my colors are back. Okay, so data service. Okay, so this is where Pearson has authentication going on. And so I think I have a model service, some DA data model. Here we go. And hey, if you guys like this, you should see my my Android theme. I handcrafted. I spent like 4 hours hand designing it. It was fun. Okay, so DA data model. So as you can see here, this is the URL for where the users are going to be storing data, and this is what Pearson is using for his authentication. We are not going to be using this URL for our static data. In fact, I got to do some refactoring because this is Fire URL base, because we now have two different data sets here. And so, well, actually, maybe I'll just create a DA static data model. Ooh, I like that. I like it. And let's do it. Source Swift file. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and add the app test because I do want to unit test this at some point in time. And we're going to call this DA static data model. Great. And foundation's fine. I don't think we're going to be using UI kit right now. Import Firebase, of course. Then class DA static data model. And I'm choosing to make this like a singleton class. I feel like these services, I feel like it's a good way to do it. There's other ways of doing it, but I like the way we're doing it here. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Static let instance, that's the name of our instance here that you can access. Static let instance equals DA static data model, like so. Okay. And yeah, looks good here. Okay, so we know that we have a URL, so we can call this Fire URL base. And maybe you're wondering why I'm putting the URL word first. It's just in case I have other things that reference Firebase. I want to make sure that the next thing I type in is the URL so I can find them easily. So Fire URL base, and of course, let's see what we did over here. We actually are creating a Firebase object, so that's easy enough. So let Firebase URL equals, and we're going to call this Firebase. Really? Autocomplete, you are just on one today. URL. Yeah, I don't need you. Stop it. All right, this is what we need. And I take off the forward or the trailing slash there because all the URLs will have that. Okay, also, I think we did something bad over here. Well, it's a constant. It can't be modified. So normally I would say, put this in a getter and a setter, but this is not going to be modified. So that's fine. These other ones are in getter setter. So we're fine. We're fine. Okay, so this is the static URL. And what we want to do is we want to be able to provide a URL for the specific slopes that we're going to be using in the app, which is fine. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to try and get MVP. Like, I'm not going to think about structuring too much. We're just going to get it up there and working. So I'm going to do that now. So we got a Firebase URL, and we know that if we go back to Firebase here, let's find it. We know that we got some data sets here. Come on, window. Firebase, Devslopes static data. And so, okay, so the path that we have is going to be /slopes. Yeah, /slopes, that's all. Okay, so that's easy enough. So let's create a new URL here, like so. I'm just going to copy and paste it so I don't have to remember what the syntax is for Firebase. So Firebase URL, and we're going to call this, instead of users, we're going to call this slopes. And pay attention to what we're doing here. So I'm grabbing the base URL and doing child by appending path. Remember, everything with Firebase is a URL. So it's going to be /users. Okay, so we know that this is the main path, and we know /user or /slopes is where our slopes are. That's what we're looking for. And that's exactly what we need. And we don't have a setter here because there's no need for it. So there's our slopes. Simple enough. And that's Firebase. Like, we've literally implemented it. If you want to see it working in action here, we can even do that too. So let's create an initializer here, and we'll print and make sure it works. So what I'll do is we're going to say fire URL slopes dot. Oh, come on, autocomplete. Oh my gosh. This is killing me. I actually am a little bit blocked because I can't remember the Firebase syntax here. Hold on. Let's look at the dang code here. Set value, remove value. Yeah. Set priority. Update child values. No. Okay. Observe event type. Thank you, jerk. Xcode. All right. So this is going to be fire URL slopes dot. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm going to quit Xcode. I will not manually type in all these parameters here. Frick. Okay. You guys are like, that happens to me. I thought in your videos, everything just magically worked. Well, you guys are lucky because I get to cut a lot of that junk out. Okay. So let's try this again. This is going to be fire URL slopes dot observe. It still doesn't want to work. All right, that's fine. Let's go look at this stupid code here. Observe event type. Man, Firebase, you're killing me here. All right. What a joke. Okay. Interesting. I'm building it, it's not airing out. Yeah, it's working just fine. Whatever. Okay, so let me just put it down here. Know how to do it. See if I can remember. Frick. Fire URL base dot observe. Now it works, huh? Now it works. All right. See, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. Oh, not auth event though. Dummy. Observe event type is what I wanted. Thank you. And event type. There we go. Let's just call this snapshot. And oh, what was this one? Shoot. Oh, does anyone know what that variable represents? Snapshot, and this is something. I do use storyboards. We're using storyboards and we're using zibs, both of them together. Event type, and the event type we want to do is fe event type dot value. And the dot value is anytime, so it's going to hit Firebase, and whenever it finds data, it's going to show it here. That's all. So, like so. So observe event type. We want to just listen for whenever Firebase has successfully downloaded the data. That's all we're saying here. So Firebase has successfully downloaded data, or data has changed. Okay. And I'm really bugged because I don't know what the second parameter is here. So I need to go remember. Okay. So the second parameter, a block that should be called with initial data and updates, it's passed the data as a snapshot and the previous child's key. Okay, so previous child's key. That's what this is. So child key. That's what that is right there. Okay. So hypothetically, if I print this snapshot, it should show our data from Firebase. It's that simple. Firebase is literally this simple to set up here. So let's no crazy HTTP requests or anything like that. It's all handled in the framework. So we're going to go ahead and print snapshot dot. Okay, it's been a while. Snapshot dot value. Thank you. Snapshot dot value. Okay. So if this works, we should see the data for our Firebase. And by the way, this is it's pinging like crazy. So this is the data from our, yeah, this is good. So I'm gonna go over here to my view controller and just run a test. And by the way, this is how I always do my apps. I always just implement the code and then I print it out to make sure it gets there. Don't do all kinds of crazy UI and stuff and then hope it all magically works. You know, test and work. Pretty much he lives there. He lives like the other day, like he wasn't even at my house and I came home like I went downstairs like at 3 a.m. and he was like on my couch downstairs in his underwear. Like it was just this guy. I'm just kidding. But he lives just down the street, so we.
I wasn't wearing that much.
we're trying to work efficiently here. So I'm gonna go to my view controller, and we'll just do.
I hate you.
So actually, let's not do the init function on our DA static data model. I'm gonna actually call this func test. Okay, and yeah, I do have a couch though. In fact, I got this awesome man cave. That I would show you, but I'm gonna waste time. But it's pretty cool. It's my little home. No kids are allowed in here, but they still come. Okay, so view controller. So we got a login view controller. That's not what I want. I want the main home screen. Okay, here it is. Slope selection, DA slope selection, VC. I believe that's the one we want. Yes, it is. So what I'm gonna do here is in view did load. I'm just gonna simply call that test function. Okay. So we're going to say DA static data model dot instance dot test. So when I run this app, if this all worked out, I should see printing here to my console the data coming straight from Firebase that we put in there. And just to verify to make sure it works, that's just a little test I like to do. Just remember what the data is in here. So I should see 2 items with all of this data in it. That's what I should see when I run this app, and it should print out right here. And if it does, I know that it successfully worked. So. Moment of truth. It's coming, I promise. There we go. Come on, baby, show me the money. Show me the money. Oh, so did it work? Someone tell me, did it work? Anybody? Can anybody see? Are we successfully interacting with Firebase? There must be a delay. I like watching you guys for 15 seconds. Yeah, it definitely worked. So it worked. Looks great, actually. So here's a question that I get all the stinking time. Is like, okay, I'm working with Firebase now, but how do I actually use this data? Okay, well, let's talk about that here. Let's go over to our static data model. So one thing that some people do with Firebase is something like this. So our snapshot.value, if we look at our data here, you gotta kind of know JavaScript a little bit here to understand this completely. But what we've got here is we've got So we got a dictionary, so a Swift dictionary, okay? And it's a dictionary that's holding dictionaries. Whoa. So slopes, so this is gonna be a dictionary, a main dictionary of type, well, this is a string, so of type string and any object. That's what this is, type string, any object. And this is, of course, type string and any object as well here. So let's see if we can parse it out a little bit here. In fact, I'll keep this open so we can know exactly what's going on here. Okay. Firebase observe event type. So it's snapshots printing. So here we go. Let's pretend we know what we're doing. So if let, we're going to call this slopes equals snapshot.value as, and this is going to be, so again, this is a dictionary of type string and any object. Yeah, so this is a dictionary where the key is a string and its value is an object or another dictionary. Okay, and yeah, that looks good. And so what I like to do now is I like to actually test that it worked. What we can do is we can just we can say print. Well, let's go a level deeper because this is an outer dictionary. So let's go ahead and say if let, and we're going to call this, actually, for each, this is what we want to do. Is that what we want to do? Yes, no. Now I'm doubting myself. Okay, so we got a dictionary, and that has keys in it. Yep. So, oh, there we go. So this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. We're going to say if let iOS slope equals, we're going to say slopes, and then this one's going to be slope iOS. And that's going to be as dictionary of type string and any object, like so. Okay. All right. So that looks good to me. And that would then give us this dictionary. And then hypothetically, I should be able to print these keys, right? So I should be able to say print iOS slope promo video URL. And in fact, just to make it more pretty, so we know it's actually working, we can call this video URL, or yeah, video URL. And we'll just do some string interpolation. And so, okay. So there's our video URL, print, and this is slope description. So, come on. And this one's going to be iOS slope. I only need to test a couple of these. If these work, the rest work. So we're going to call this slope description. Okay. Is the web slope the React course? It actually will be. I'm trying to make time for doing beginner HTML and CSS because it's, and beginner JavaScript because it's prerequisite to React. If not, I may just have to launch it on its own or cut it out. I'm not sure what the best user experience will be, but I almost feel like it's better to offer it than not to offer it and just say, hey, you need to know JavaScript before you take it, because someone will buy it. Okay, so what I've done here is I'm just parsing the data as a dictionary like so, okay? Just parsing the data and printing the values, and this is one way you can work with it. So we should see these print out if I successfully parsed the data from Firebase. Let's go ahead and give it a shot and see. And I screwed something up. Capital N. You could have told me that before, dummy. All right. Build succeeded. All right. So I'm not seeing it. And I don't ever need this over here. There we go. Yeah, I don't see it. It's definitely not working. So let's see if we even got into the first one here. Breakpoint. So we did get there. Oh, so we did get the snapshot in its proper format. Let's see if we get in here though, which I don't think we do. No, we don't. All right. So our outer cast appears to work fine here, but our inner one is not. So let's take a look at this here. So this is snapshot value is dictionary and string in any object. So these are our slopes, and we got a slope Android and slope iOS. So, and I'm trying to grab slope iOS, and I'm trying to get it as a string in any object. Huh. But that is failing. Swifty JSON, yes. We won't. We're gonna change some things around here in a little bit here, but I'm just running some tests. Okay. So iOS slope equals slopes. All right. Well, first things first is value as a dictionary. I want to see what this looks like exactly. So print. We're gonna say slopes.debug description. I'm gonna comment out this print line here. I think you have casted it wrong. Obviously. Yes. All right, let's see what it says. Okay. So look at this. It actually is putting it in an array. So, at one point in time, Firebase did not put this in an array for me, but this time it is, which is really interesting. So, loop over the snapshot results first. Well, I'd assumed it was a dictionary, but it actually came in as an array. So that changes everything. So instead, what we'll do is this, because it's an array, snapshot.value. Yeah, and then what we can do is we can say iOS slope equals slopes. Well, yeah, we can do a little loop here. So, well, I don't want to do this. For each OBJ in slopes. All right, this is what we'll do. And we're going to say if let iOS slopes equals OBJ slope iOS as dictionary string and AOP. So we're going to grab it. Let's see if that works. Let's take a look here. And now we have nothing. So let's take a look at this deeper here. So I'm curious. So I'm grabbing the fire. Oh. I'm grabbing the wrong URL here. That's why. That's why it's grabbing the whole top level as a dictionary. That is why. That makes more sense now. Okay, so now we're grabbing the slopes. All right, so let's back up here. Now I'm curious. Let's print the data. So let's go ahead and print snapshot.value. All right, so, okay. Now things are looking a lot more like they should. Okay, so do I have to loop over the snapshot results first? I don't have to loop. Oh, wait, I think it's printing up old stuff here. You guys already said that. So now it's an object, which is exactly what we need here. So now I can go back to the way things were. Let's just undo this here. All right. So we're just going to change this one now to the proper URL, slopes, which is going to give us an object, which is a dictionary. Whenever I say object, I'm referring to like a JavaScript object. So there's our JavaScript object or a dictionary and of type string in any object, which it is. All right, I'm feeling like this is going to work. Oh, there it is. It is working. Look, see? So we have successfully parsed it. So I had it right the first time. I'm not that dumb. I just forgot. I put the wrong URL in here. So, okay, so this is one way you can do it. This is not how we're going to do it. We're going to create a class here. And so let's go ahead and do that now in our model. New file, Swift file, DA. We're going to call this slope. What are you doing in the back, Pearson? He's coding too.
Can I show them a picture of what I'm making?
You can do whatever you want.
Let me stand behind you and show me.
I got to turn on my camera here. Hold on. Ooh, wait, let me fix that. It's too much. All right, there we go. Now they can see me with my 10-day beard.
All right.
This is the camera, Pearson.
Oh, there it is. It's modern technology.
If I showed in that screen, well, there we go.
This is what I'm making. Oh, you can't see it. What's the deal?
Too much brightness.
Oh, maybe I turn down the brightness then?
Maybe.
Is that better?
A little bit. Too much reflection. There we go.
Okay, there we go. And then you push this button. Come on. Boop. Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Very good. It's the share screen. Hardcore iOS says it sucks.
Like his mom.
At least he's wearing pants. That's right. Yes.
I put them on real quick.
We can all be grateful for that.
I love that that's the running joke. I really do.
All right, let's share the screen here. Present to everyone. Okay. So, okay. So here we go.
You can do whatever you want.
This is our slope. And I want to think about this here for a second. So, you know, you have the notion of downloading data, listening for data changes, but it happens in your view controller. I'm not completely happy. I'm not completely happy with that notion, but it's the way Firebase recommends. And I've tried to think of different solutions of like, where could the data live? Like for instance, could I create a data service that listens for all these data sets, and then have like a protocol that view controllers can listen to? But it almost seems redundant because Firebase in and of itself is almost that protocol listening for those data changes. So I'm not sure I have a great solution for it. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to create the class for this, the model. So DA slope. And what we want to do is anytime we create a slope, we want to initialize it with the proper data, which is going to be the data directly from Firebase. So let's create an initializer here. And Firebase is giving us, let's see what Firebase is giving us. In fact, let's, oh my gosh, which view controller was I working in? This one here. All right, so Firebase, or no, it's in our data service. Duh. Static data model. All right, so Firebase is giving us a dictionary type string in any object. I'm almost thinking I'm just going to make it more generic dictionary of type any object in any object in case the data changes, because it's the job of the class to know what to pass in. I don't want the view controllers to have to worry about that. So our initializer is going to take in, we're going to call this FB data. FB data, I like that. And it's going to be a dictionary of type string or not string, any object in any object. If it will let us do that, should. And do we want data that's null? No, we don't. We don't want data that's null. So, okay, so FB data. And what we can do actually is here, in fact, this is in our data service here. So this is kind of in the wrong spot actually altogether. But we know what we need to parse. So let's do that now. I'm going to just copy this for now. And DA slope, I'm just going to put it here, comment it out, or actually do that and then comment it out. Okay, so what we want to do is set up our data here. So we manipulate the slope data. No, our slope should never be manipulated by a user. For the static data should not. So what we can just do is private. In fact, we could initialize it straight from our initializer here. We can make these all constants, I think. So we're going to say let, and this is going to be, we're going to basically put in the same data that is in our backend here. Now, remember, I did this backend for testing, but your data for Firebase is all driven by your apps. So this is where things really start to count. So your code needs to be well written here, and you have unit tests, which I'm not going to do right now, but I'll add them later. That's just how I roll. I'm not super anal about doing it on the spot there. And I'm still trying to figure out a good testing solution for Firebase. There's no great solution right now for mobile unit testing with Firebase. So I got to figure out how to mock up that data because it's going to be so important. So let, and this is going to be promo video URL of type string. This one's going to be slope description of type string. This one's going to be slope icon URL of type string. This is going to be slope name type string. And I'm going to assume all of these aren't optional because I think this data is all required. So students enrolled, and this is going to be of type int. And then we're going to need to initialize those here in the initializer. So did you say Ruby was possible instead of JSON? I'm not sure what that means. No. This Firebase is all JSON type driven. If I wasn't using Firebase, I could build a Rails backend or something. API. So we've got that data there. And so what we want to do is just parse this data and then store it in these variables. That's what we want to do. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to say, what do we want to say? I'm curious. I'm thinking too, like from a user experience, like me as a developer, I want to make sure our data is always like, there should never be any reason why we don't have static data. Like none of these should come in optional. So I'm kind of questioning myself is, do I force unwrap everything because they have to be, they have to be set. They're not optionals at all. And since these are constants, they must be defined. So I'm going to assume that. I'm going to assume that the data is there. And I'm going to force unwrap everything. So, which you normally wouldn't do if you're not sure if the data is not there, but I know it's going to be there. So let's do it. So first things first, let's just pull them out just as they're done here. So we're going to say that's dictionary string in any object. Okay, so let's go ahead and say let. Actually, let's iterate through the dictionary. So, does anyone remember the syntax for iterating through the Swift dictionary? I can't remember. Iterate Swift dictionary. Blah blah blah. That's right. So for each OBJ, what do we want to say here? For each, what do I want to say? So for each key in, let's hold on. How is my, because this is, we got all the objects here. So, yeah, for each key. Yeah, and then just give us the object. So we could do that. So for each key, and this is going to be slope, each slope in FP data. So each key in slope. There we go. Okay, and we're going to iterate through. And actually, no, this isn't right. Dang it, because this is an individual slopes, an individual slope. I'm almost thinking now. Well, our view controller should have multiple slopes. So I'm thinking this is going to be the actual slope itself that we pass in here. I'm trying to think of a good way to parse this data without having to do too much in the view controller here. Let's see here. For each key and slope in Facebook data or Firebase data, DA static data model. Okay. So we're observing the event and we're getting the data. Okay, but this is a series of slopes. And so I feel like we need a static function that'll manage this for us. That's what I think. Will this iOS slopes title description video ever change? No, it will not ever change. Well, I mean, it will change when we as developers on the back end change it. So yes, it will change. And we'll have to account for that in versions and stuff. So, okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a static function. I think that's what we're going to do, a class function. I think that's class, and we're going to call this array slopes array from I'm curious if other Firebase data models can use the same code. We can always refactor later. So slopes array from FB data. And this is where we're actually going to do this. All right, we're getting there. Hold on. So this is FB data, class func. All right, slopes array from Facebook or from Firebase data. Firebase data. Okay, so, and then of course in our slope, we would just pass in the individual dictionary like we've done here. So I don't even think this needs to change here. Just the way we're doing it is different. Okay, so here is where we're actually going to say, and you know, this needs to return an array of DA slope. And we're going to make sure there's data in it. So, okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. So we've got it here. So I'll just type it out. So let slopes equals FB data equals, actually we don't even need to do that, do we? We can just actually do this here. So I got it. All right, we're gonna say bar slopes equals, of our slopes equals DA slope. I like it. DA slope. Okay. All right, so we're going to create an array there, and so key and for each slope in Facebook data. So then what we're going to do, all right, here we go. This is where the fun comes in. So now we can finish this part up here. So we're going to say, we're going to assume that this is our individual object. We're going to assume that this is our, and our string and any object. In fact, at this point, we can assume that it's a string because we're parsing it and managing it here, which is fine. Okay, so string in any object, and so because let me think this through. So we're initializing it, we're passing in an individual object, so it's going to actually just be those keys and values there. FB data. In fact, this one we're going to call slope data, and for sake of preserving the name of the slope or the unique ID, I'm going to call this slope ID. That's going to be of type string, and you're going to see what that means in just a second here. So, okay, and then we'll store that here as well too. A class within a class. Yeah, it's not a class. It's a it's a static function, meaning just one instance of it per class, class wide. Okay, so we're gonna call this slope ID, and it's gonna be a type string. And here we go. So this should be as easy as saying self.slope ID on slope ID equals slope ID. Okay, and then we got the slope data here. So I think I'm just going to force unwrap everything, because as a developer, we must guarantee that this data is here. We can't run the app without this data. Meaning if we ever get an optional value passed in or something null, it means someone screwed up on the back end, and I'm not even sure there's a graceful way to handle that in the app, because without data, the app doesn't function. Yeah, so we'll go from there, see how it goes. And I think our unit tests will help us out when we get to those. So slope ID. So we're going to say self.promo video URL equals slope data. We're going to say promo video. In fact, these need to be in constants. These need to be in constants here, I think. Promo video URL. Well, do we? No, because we're only using them one time. We'll see. If we use them more than once, I'll put them in a constants file. So we're going to grab the promo video URL, and yeah, we're going to cast it as a string. And there's the force unwrap that you won't typically do in a lot of cases, but in our case, I think it's okay. We'll see. Slope description equals slope data slope description as, and self.slope icon URL equals slope data. We're going to call this slope icon URL as string. Slope or self.slope name equals slope data slope name as string, and self.student enrolled equals slope data students enrolled as int. And actually, I'm actually not quite sure what value. I'm not quite sure what value Firebase is going to give us back for the integer, if it's going to be a value or if it's going to be an actual integer or an NS number. I'd like to check that out first here. I'm going to do that now. So let's just print students. I can't remember, that's why. So students, and we're going to say iOS slope, and this is going to be students enrolled. Okay, let's just run it and see. Oh, come on. Any object, that's what I figured. All right, so that's fine. It's going to be a string. Doesn't matter. Missing return function. Oh, okay. Return slopes. All right. Let's see if it worked. So 625 optional. So it looks like it's printing up just as an integer. I think that's what it's doing, so that's fine. So I'm just going to cast it to an int and hope it works. Students enrolled. Looks good. In fact, I'll put the slope ID up here. Okay, so next thing I want to do is finish this function. So now we want to convert all the slopes that we get from Firebase into actual objects. So what we're going to do, never used it, I know. So what we're going to do here is say, well, let slope, or let, let's say slope obj. So it's going to be let slope equals BA slope. Oh, come on, warnings. Get off my screen. BA slope. And we're going to pass in the slope ID. So this one is going to be just the actual key here. So this is going to be the key. Yep. And which is going to be this, the key, the actual name key of the slope. And the slope data, that we're passing in is simply the slope obj. Hopefully that should work. We just created this. Any object is not convertible to dictionary string in any object. Oh, wait a minute. What is it? Any object is not convertible. Oh, I see, because it's not being casted. This needs to be as a dictionary type string in any object. Okay. Oh, come on. What did I do wrong here? Expected pattern. So you just don't like that, do you? All right, that's fine. Is that really how it's going to be, huh? All right, so what I'll do here is, all right, get off. Let's just call this let obj equals slope obj as dictionary of type string and any object. You happy? Yeah. All right, so we're gonna instead pass this guy in here, and hopefully it'll stop yelling at us. And it did. Okay, so there's our slope. So what we've done is we've taken data from Firebase, and we're passing into our initializer here. We're creating a slope object, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add that to this array here. So slopes.append our new slope, like so. And then we're going to return slopes. It was mutated. Thank you. All right, so now what we should see here, go back to our DA static data model here. Instead of doing all this junk here, now whenever we implement this in a view controller, we can just say let slopes of type, and I'll just put the type here so you can see this is going to be DA slope. Okay, equals DA slope dot slopes array from Facebook data, and we're just going to pass in snapshot dot value. Guys, I don't know how long this is going to be, so just so you know, I'm just chugging along here. I was thinking about actually creating like the views and stuff, but this is taking long enough as it is. All right, did you mean to downcast it? Oh, come on. Do I really have to downcast it? How about we do it this way? I don't want to manage this here at all. So instead, this is just going to be of type any object. And then for each of these, I'm sure this is going to break too, of course, which is fine. So now we can just call this FB data. Yeah, let's just say let formatted equals FB data as, and we're going to say dictionary of type string and any object. And then we'll use formatted here. You can watch later. I'm going to be recording all this. So, it is recording right now. All right, so that arrow's gone away. Let's go back to our model over here. There we go. So there's our slopes array. And so what I'm trying to do is just minimize the type of the code that's written here in a view controller. Firebase's documentation, will have you parsing data here, but we don't want to do that. That's bad. And if this all worked, I should be able just to access the properties of this class. So, for each slope in slopes. All right, so for each slope in slopes, we're just going to say print. Let's just say promo. Let's do a few of them. We don't need to do all of them. Let's do the promo video URL. So this is just going to be slope.promo video URL. And let's just print the integer. So this one's going to be students, or just call it enrolled. Enrolled And this is going to be slope.students enrolled. So again, what we've just done is we've created we're going to listen in our view controllers for data. This is our callback whenever there's data. And then what we're going to do, at least in this case here, is we're going to convert, since we know it's an array, we're going to call the slopes array from Facebook data, this class function here, which is going to take the data, it's going to convert them into slope objects, which we're doing up here, and then it's going to return that array. So our view controller is ready to use it. And we're pretending that we're in a view controller here. We're actually not in a view controller. But so we return that array here and we go through it and we print it out. So if everything worked, we should see these guys right here being printed 2 different times. So let's run it and see. And look, guys, boom. So this is how I typically work with Firebase personally. We've got it successfully parsing, and we can use it as a class now. Someone mentioned Swifty JSON. To be honest, I only ever used it once, and I should probably look into it some more. What it would do is it would get rid of some of this boilerplate stuff like we're doing right here. But yeah, it's working. Like we've got Firebase in our app, and if you're wondering, like, okay, what does that even matter? Let's just do another test. Let's do another test here. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this test. What we're going to do, just for fun, is we're going to actually put this code in here in our view did load, and we'll create an object for each one. Swifty JSON and Alamo Fire are not the same thing. Alamo Fire does have features, but we are obviously not using Alamo Fire in this case here. So, but it's not the same thing. What I want to do is, come on. I'm just going to comment this out real quick. And what I want to do is actually do a test to load things onto the screen and just see if it works here. So let's just do that real quick here. I'm just going to say, we're just going to do a quick test to add a view. So let view equals UI view. Actually, I can put a frame in here, can't I? Frame, CG rect make. Come on, autocomplete, you piece of junk. CG rect make, and are you freaking kidding me? Whatever. You know, stupid view. I don't even care. V dot background color equals UI color dot yellow color. Okay, and let's go ahead and give it a frame now. V dot frame equals CG rect. Thank you. Okay, and the position is going to be, let's just say, self. We're going to say self.view.frame.width divided by 2, self.view.frame.height divided by 2, and its width we're just going to say 150, and height we're going to say 150. Put it there in the middle of this screen-ish. Okay, so there's our view, and I just want to say self.view.add subview. I want to make sure that it's just appearing before I run my second test. So I want to make sure a big, ugly yellow view is appearing on the middle of the screen when I load this up. Okay, it's there. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's gonna give me a seizure. All right, so now for the test. This is the test I want to do. So we're gonna pretend that we're actually loading up our slopes now. So this is gonna be DA, in fact, DA static data model. Instead of saying instance here, let's just do something shorter. I'm gonna call this, I'm just going to call this DM for data model. No, that's so long. I just don't want to write long code. Let's leave it for now. So this is going to be DA static data model dot instance. Okay. And we need to import Firebase, of course. Import. No, mods are not picked yet. I got a bajillion applications and I haven't even gone through one of them. I've been doing Microsoft stuff, and I have been working on this now. And so I'm tomorrow morning I'm going through a bunch of applications. I think we've got a bajillion of them. So And okay, so what we're doing here is I just created a test view. What I actually want to do is instead of printing these things here, I just want to add a new slope for every slope that's in this object. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new view, yellow color, and I'm going to put it here. And you know what? We can play around with this even more. So I'm going to change this to purple color first of all. So I don't want a seizure. Okay, so there's a purple color, and this is going to be yeah. Let's just let's actually, instead of the for each loop, let's just do an old C style loop here. So 0 x is less than slopes dot count x plus plus. All right, and then we can just say, now we can do this. And what I want to do is the x position here. In fact, let's make these size 50 and 50 so they're smaller so we can just see them all there in portrait. And what I'm going to do is the x position times 2 divided by 2. I'm going to multiply that by the index. That's all, by x. So they just have spacing. Okay. Oh, what are you yelling at me about now? CG float, whatever. CG float, because 0 apparently is not CG float. Oh shoot, that's right. Because this is hold on. I don't need to do that. I just need to CG float here. Okay. So there's our frame. We're just going to move it over every single time. And then what I'm also going to do is just create a label. So let's grab our slope here. Let slope equals slopes x. Okay. What we're going to do is add a UI label to this. So let label equals UI label. All right. Frame CG rect make. Okay. It just does not want to autocomplete there for us. Whatever. Label dot frame equals CG rect make, and this is just, we're just going to say 0 and 0, and the width is going to be 50, and the height I'm going to say is, well, let's make the height, it can be 50. I really don't care. 50 is kind of small though, isn't it? All right, we're going to say 100 and 100 and 100 and 100. So we're creating a UI label that I'm going to throw onto that purple brick there. Label dot text equals, and we're going to say slope dot slope name. Then we're going to say v dot add subview label. All right, so if this all worked, well, good thing I'm not keeping that C style loop in there. Okay, so if this all worked as I expected, I should see 2 purple blocks on the screen. The first one's going to have one of the courses, and the second one's going to have the other course name on it, if it all worked as expected. It may not, but let's go ahead and see. Hey. There's our slopes. We did a quick test, and it is officially working. Cool. This is good stuff. So we've successfully downloaded data from Firebase. We've even parsed it and created a class in the proper way. Like, we did lots of tests in between, but we're doing it the way I want it to be in the end result of the app. And then all I've done here is in the view controller, I've just pretended to create some slopes with no styling or anything like that. And I've put actual data in it. So literally, we're almost there. Short of styling and positioning and things, the data is there for this to work for the slope screen, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that snow's cool. I'm gonna fix the flag. I'm gonna have like a little bird animating, and there's gonna be some Easter eggs in there that you guys are gonna want to play around with. But it's gonna be really cool. And I may, like, if you tap on the screen like 50 times, I'm gonna actually make an animation of Pearson running across the screen, screaming, like just in his boxer shorts. And that's gonna be the Devslopes Easter egg. So anyway, I think I'm going to call this video done, guys. I was going to do some more design, but I'm getting tired, and I missed 2 episodes of The Walking Dead so far. And I've been coding and working all day, doing Microsoft stuff, fighting with Windows. So guys, what I've just done here with Firebase, put it into your brain. This is really good stuff. In fact, I don't cover anything nearly in depth in any of my courses here. So bookmark this. I'm going to load it up onto YouTube and onto the blog, and as well onto the iOS 9 course for you guys to look at here. Really good stuff. But that's it for now. Cool. So that's it. Firebase, data, parsing, mid-class.